So the very first thing we want to do is we want to do the put. To follow the pattern, HTTP put, public action results. We want to return a movie, update movie. Now this takes two parameters, right? What are the two parameters? The ID and the new movie from the body. So taking the ideas that we have from up here, hey, we got one that has a URL parameter, and we have one that has a body parameter, that from body tag, right? So let's combine those two ideas and use those inside the put. So I'm saying, hey, there's going to be an ID inside of the URL, int ID, and we're going to go, hey, inside the body, there's going to be a movie updated, and we'll call this updated movie, or new movie info. Yeah. New movie data. There we go. Third time's a charm. So now we just need to update it in SQL, right? So var movie equals db dot movies dot first or default. Got to find the movie first. Equals ID. And then we're going to update all of the details that we want to update. So movie dot title equals new movie data dot title rating once we've updated what we want to update, db.save changes, and just return movie. So here we're using Entity Framework to kind of help with that command. Remember, to update inside of Entity Framework, it's always, you got to find it, update the details that you want to update, and then db.save changes.
Could be where instead.
So could we use where instead of first or default? Is that the question?
Yes.
Does anyone want to try to take a swing at that? Because that's a really good question, right? Because why couldn't we use where? Where is more SQL-esque, why not?
If it's not there, then it wouldn't be able to find it, whereas first or default has a default case that it...
So where still has a default case. It's all about the return type. So first or default will return a movie or nothing. A where will always return an array of movies.
Oh, okay.
So that's the difference. So we know there's only going to be one here, right? There should only be one. So we want to get
right.
a movie. If we use where, we're going to get a list of movies. That list might only include one though.
Yeah.
But it's still a list.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. And so for or default same like a text.
It's give me the first one that matches this criteria.
Yeah, I know if you don't use the for each.
Nope.
Because it's not array. What kind of type is that?
Is this?
But that is a table.
Yep.
So you should.
So we know it's a database table. We know it's a table over in Postgres.
Yeah.
Here we only know that it's what's called a DB set, which is a fancy type of list, and that's it.
What do you say?
It's a fancy type of list. It's called a DB set.
Okay.
So here we're going to use our link stuff, our link terminology, to query that table. we can treat that table as if it's just an array or if it's just a list. So yes, at the end of the day, this is probably going to be compiled and run as a where statement. But for us, we're just saying, hey, grab me the first one.
Because if you have a, that can help you. You have just one. But if you don't know how many will
like,
be, you should call the whole entire collection.
Yep.
So for me, it will be more efficiency.
So this will be more efficient at the end of the day because this is going to search until it finds one. So if it finds one like a third of the way through, it's going to stop.
If you have a more,
But if I have more, it's going to ignore those.
yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah,
It's kind of.
Which is what I want to do here. Yeah.
Wait a minute. I got confused.
So if it's actually really good to see. So if this was, we have our put. 98% sure it works, so there. So if we had our database table, right? You know, we have our columns and everything, and each one of these are our data. Let's say we have some data, and we have 4, 5, 7, 9, 10. These are our IDs, and that's some more data as well. And we're saying, hey, give me the movie whose ID is 7. That's what we're looking for. All right?
You know, never going to repeat. That is the reason you use it as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this case, I know I'm always going to have only one 7.
I got you.
So first or default is going to say, hey, does this one equal 7? Does this equal 7? Does this equal 7? Does this equal 7? Hey, it equals 7. I'm going to stop and return. Versus if I did a where clause here, it's going to go, oh, I found a 7. Add that to my return type.
Will be
Right? Now does this equal 7? Does this equal 7? Does this equal 7? Does this equal 7?
okay.
So on websites like Wikipedia, where if you search for something and it's like, oh, we found multiple things. Did you mean blah 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 blah? It's probably using like a where thing and going off the name then, because that's what you input in.
Yep. So the Wikipedia search page is going, hey, give me all articles where its tags or search key terms or whatever they are matches what you typed in. If it's more than one, show the list. If it's only one, show that page.
So first or default would not work in that case because there's multiple things.
Correct. Because that use case, that requirement says, if we have multiple things that match this, return everything. So it'd be a little bit of logic here.
So that won't work well if we have two tables to try to fit them both.
Right. We have two tables, it's a completely different story.
Oh, okay. So okay, I got it. Right, thank you.
Do you want to see if this works?
Yeah.
We kind of wrote it and kind of assumed it worked. You know what that means, right? Yeah, assuming is dangerous. I mean, it's only a logical conclusion based on facts. So I want to get all. I want to get all movies. I got Pirates of the Car and Kingsman. I want to update. I like those. I'm gonna add a new movie.
So you don't have to next one.
Yep. Which I can do. Post
Avatar.
Avatar. It was rated probably PG-13, and it was done by that guy who does things. Send, let's create it. Hopefully it's still running. It is. If I get all. Hey, there we go. So I want to update this.
To that guy with the really great wife. Ex-wife.
To that guy with the really great ex-wife. Yes, I want to update this to James Cameron. I'm actually going to use his real name. I want to update it to say who it is. So for me, if I'm going, what I'm going to do a put, and inside of the body, I still need to pass it all the data. Because if I leave something out here, it's going to think that I'm updating it to nothing.
Because it doesn't know what movie.
It knows what movie, but I could be updating like the rating to nothing, or it could be updating the title to nothing.
Oh, so as soon as if it's blank, it's
Yes.
nothing.
Yes. So you can think of a put as an overwrite. Not so much like a specific update, but an overwrite. Jordan?
Is that why you remove the ID because it's a primary key? You cannot overwrite it.
Mhm.
But even if it's still the exact same primary key.
Yep. You can pass it. It won't hurt anything. I also added that primary key to the URL. I'm going, hey, find me this movie out of the ID of 3, and whatever it is, replace it with the information that I'm giving you. So I should be able to go, hey, send. I should get a 200 back. Voila. I do, and I get the updated movie. So now, hopefully, when I do my get all, there we go. It works. How are we feeling with updated?
So any data that you want to be enabled for whatever reason, you can just remove from the bud.
Yep. Deletion. HTTP delete. Public. Action results. Let's not return a movie. Let's just stick with our original idea of just returning a 200. And that's it. What does that look like? So an action result, we're just saying, we're gonna say, hey, we're returning a response, and that's it. So action results, delete movie. This also has an int ID. To add this to our URL. And if we recall how to delete a movie from a database using Entity Framework, it is var movie equals db.movies.first or default. f.id equals id. And then db.movies.remove movie, db.savechanges, and then our return statement, just an okay.
Really?
Yeah, really. Okay, we're good. Okay.
So just thinking about like redundancies, backups, this, that, what have you, instead of just returning like an okay, you could return like a statement. I was looking into it, like this has been marked for deletion, kind of keeping a 24-hour redundancy kind of a thing in there. Would you just add like a timer to it before the actual thing goes through, or like, I mean, would that be something on the back end that you?
So something on the back end. That's a really cool term for it, but it's kind of like behind the back end. How would you do that? I know how I would do something like that. So the problem on the table, just while he's thinking about it, the problem on the table is whenever I delete a movie, I don't want to delete it immediately. I want to delete it sometime later. So like,
would you batch a request to the server
so
and then set a time to it?
yep, I could set up some sort of queuing system that only gets processed every 5 minutes or something like that, or that waits 5 minutes to process it. They could do something like that. Yes. Yes.
Could you move it to a hidden delete table and then just have another script or function that just periodically deletes that after 24 hours kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, you can move it to a hidden table that's like movies to delete, and then every night at midnight just go in that table and hit delete all. Have a script that does that. It doesn't have to be so crazy as a second table. You could add something to the movie that's prop bowl queued for deletion. And then here, you would actually just update that boolean.
Oh,
And then up here, you would return only movies that are not queued for deletion.
it's like you want to save the data instead to delete.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just say it's cute, but actually delete it and keep everything as files. Kind of thing. It's cheap.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to get around it. It could be between using a second server for a batch process, using a deletion table, using a Boolean flag. These abstract concepts, all of them are right. None of them are wrong. It's whichever one fits better into your architecture. Which isn't a question that junior devs have to answer. Or freshly minted devs have to answer. They can. Obviously, we can answer it. But you should have guidance from C.
So on websites that are like Facebook or like a lot of VPNs where they have to like store their logs and can't actually delete things,
Mm-hmm.
they would be doing something like that where it's just like saying, oh, it's gone.
Yep.
Okay.
It's gone. So
It's not for you.
there's two different types of delete in the world. There's a hard delete and a soft delete. A hard delete is what we have right here. This is a hard delete. A hard delete means, yep, once we delete it, it's gone. Gone forever. A soft delete is what we added with the Boolean here. That, oh, it's not really deleted, but it's not showing up to user anymore. So if we want to get it back for whatever reason, we can.
So it's kind of like a virtual trash can.
Yeah.
You still can get it, but
Yeah.
it's no longer in your file explorer where it used to be.
Yep.
So I know we're only up there returning on the get thing, we're only returning ones that aren't queued for deletion. Were we returning the whole movie thing so people will see queued for deletion false when they pull it up? So is there a way to like remove it or just show everything but that?
Yes. So let's add this to our data model. And instead of queued for deletion, let's say is active. What?
Now they won't
Yeah, right?
know.
And inside of our delete, instead of doing a hard deletion, let's instead do a soft deletion. A soft delete, which will look a lot like this, right? But instead of updating all of that stuff, we want to is active equals false. Let's add a default value here to true. And let's still return our OK. So now our delete will still work in the same way. We're still just returning our 200 grade it worked. But now we have this extra property, is active. Let's just add this to our... Now because we changed our models, what do we have to do?
That's the thing I said.
Yep, that's what you meant to say, right?
So you'll have to add the Boolean check on every other thing, not just in that compartment.
Yep. Which, at that time, you probably want to encapsulate your database query into another helper class.
What do you mean by that?
So, since this is just a whole bunch of classes, we could create a whole separate class to house what's called our business logic. That's typically called like a service layer. So instead of our controllers going straight to our database, we're going to stick in another layer in between there. That says our controllers are going to go to our service layer that go to our database. .NET EF database update. So whenever this is successfully updated, cool. All right. So now that we have that successfully updated, we'll run it. .NET watch run. And this will bring up what Will was mentioning about now that we have this is active thing here, it's going to now show up after it builds. One day it will build. One day my code will build. Well, that's first off wrong, but regardless, we don't want to show this, right?
Right.
We don't like this is something that we're using internally to do stuff. So now we've kind of said, hey, what the user is seeing inside of its view, the view being the JSON, what they're seeing inside of the view is now different than our database model. We now have this divergent of what's going on. So we can no longer return our models here. We have to return what's called a view model. So a view model is a term for a data structure that is only used inside of the view. So it's what the user sees, is what JSON objects that we're creating at the end of the day. It's not tied to our database. It's not a reflection of our database. It's just here is a structure of data that's going to be consumed or viewed elsewhere. So let's come over here. Where are we? Controllers. And we have our models. Let's add a new folder. Missed. Let's call it view models. So the view model, let's add a new C# class and let's call it movie view model. And here, we're going to define the blueprint for what we want the user to see. In this case, we want the user to see, hey, we want to see prop int ID. This will actually look a lot like the movie model, right? String director, prop string rating, and prop string title. It's everything but the is active. So if we come over here now to our movies controller, and instead of returning a list of movies, I want to return a list of movie view model. Of course, we need to bring in the using statement. And this is where we can use a .select. And we can say, hey, for every single one of our movies, go in and select a new movie view model where its title equals s.title, its rating equals s.rating, director equals s.director, and ID equals s.id.
So you're just basically porting the relevant information from movie to movie view model to movie controller.
Yep. It's for saying, hey, I have a whole bunch of stuff here, but I'm only going to show you some things. View models are also good for combining data. So if we had a complex data model that we wanted to put into one data model, one object, so if we had like movies plus cast plus seasons plus episodes plus directors plus producers, all that stuff in a whole bunch of separate models, we could combine all of those into one big view model to make it easier to return data. So with all of this, none of this, we will not have a table called movie view model. We won't have a controller for movie view models. This is just some form of data. It's a structure to move data from the controller to the view. So now whenever we run this, our is active is gone.
ET's never coming back, is it?
We can make ET.
So why was it coming out as false?
Because I caught this and I should have fixed it when I did my migration. The migrations had it default value is false. Right? So this is the default value in C#, not in SQL. So whenever we make ET, James did not make that. Yes.
Is it actually rated PG? They want for parents to guide their kids to the movie, not just, general audiences.
Was it PG?
I give it that. I don't know the difference really. There's none. But it's also the an
They
alien
were
on the side.
drinking. Remember, he got drunk at school and then he kissed that girl. That was one of the best movies seen in cinema.
No wonder he.
They let the frogs go. I mean, Melly did it.
Okay. To me, I don't know why E.T. and Jaws are both rated PG.
In the beginning, don't
Back in the day, the ratings were way
Yeah,
more
right.
I feel like PG-13 things were often like PG. And
Yeah, like Freddy.
yeah.
You guys ever seen Johnny Don't Know, Don't Tell Johnny and something like that? One, he was in high school and he was dating this girl, and Johnny's girl was busy going around messing with everybody else. So they went to Germany or somewhere like that. In Germany, they lost all their money, but they had $1 in their hands, and they ended up winning, like going into, I guess Germany is this a certain place where if you have like 10 cents, you're like a millionaire. So
I want to go there.
I'll bring that movie. It's a really good movie.
Oh, Eurotrip. You're talking about
Yes,
Eurotrip.
yes, Johnny Depp.
Scotty does.
Scotty.
No.
Oh, Johnny Depp's in it.
No.
Nah.
I was gonna say, where's Johnny Depp in that movie? I
Matt
wish.
Damon is.
Yeah, Matt Damon is.
Oh.
Don't tell Johnny. Well,
Where's-
yeah.
Scotty.
Where's Matt Damon?
He's the guy that sings the Scotty Doesn't Know song. He
No,
sings
That's
the
what
lead
yes,
of
it
the band.
was.
Apparently he was shooting the
Oh,
movie
yeah,
in the
Matt
same
Damon.
town they were. And
Yeah.
they just asked him if he wanted to cameo. And so he
He did a really good
Yeah.
job of that.
This Matt Damon with the piercing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's
Matt
the one.
Damon.
Nice. What was he shooting when he
That is so
He
Matt
was
Damon.
one of the ones and
Wow.
they were both shooting in Europe.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Oh wow.
It has nothing to do with E.T.
It doesn't,
Yeah,
but
I
that's.
don't know where that-
Well, no,
But I
no,
totally
it's the
figured out what
rating.
you
The
were talking
rating.
about.
That's what I was trying to get at. It's just the rating.
No,
That one, to
that's
me, I would
definitely
rate
rated R.
Scotty doesn't.
Eurotrip.
Yo, yeah.
There's a lot of nudity.
Okay, that is today's fun fact. That Matt Damon was in Eurotrip. I'm like, my whole train of thought is derailed. But you notice how we added a new movie, right?
Yes.
So our default value was set on the class, not on the SQL table. So all of our data that did was inserted is going to have the sequel default value. But the movie that we just created is going to have a default value of true.
So how can you fix that, or is that just you leave it alone?
You run a DB script that says update star to is active true
Okay.
whenever you apply the migration. And we'll get to other ways next week too. I don't want to do too much today.
It was a fun ride.
What?
Like just kind of taking a left turn and going, hey, what about this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So let's do a couple things here. In our results dot where w.isActive equals true. Actually, where it is active. And let's head over to PGCLI real fast. PGCLI movie. PGCLI movies. It's not movies, it's called movie database. PGCLI movie database. Update movies. Set is active equal to true. Update 4. Awesome. Select star from movies. So now they're all true. And let's go in and delete one real fast. What's our least favorite movie out of these 4? Cool. Pirates of the Car. Let's go in and delete. Let's go in and delete /1. So now this is doing our soft delete, right? So the movie's not actually being deleted. We got our 200, okay. If I head back and check out PGCLI, we now have, hey, Pirates of the Car, it's still there, deleted, but it's no longer active. So now when I come over here to my get all movies, get movies, I should see everything but Pirates of the Car. So how are we feeling on APIs? Better? Worse?
Better, just more exposure to it.
Yeah.
And it's application program index.
It is application programming interface.
Interface.
Yes.
So what's the purpose of a default value in C# if you still have to go in and set it in SQL?
So it's now going forward. So every time I create a new object now going forward, it's now going to set it to be true.
Ah, right.
So
Because we already have some.
Yep.
I like it.
So let's come full circle. Let's make a React app that talks to this API. So I got my API here. Just gonna leave it run. So now there are 2 different ways to structure a full stack project. Today we're gonna do one way. On Monday we're gonna do a different way. Today we're gonna see how to structure a full stack app as them being 2 completely separate projects. So our API will know nothing about our React app, and our React app will know nothing about our API. So what that means is that now our API, it's in .NET, it's on a location, it can be on its own server, it's its own thing. Versus it knowing that, hey, my front end is a React app. So with that being said, let's head to our lecture examples for .NET, week 8. Is this still week 8?
Mm-hmm.
So here's our movie API. What we're going to do, we're going to create something new called Movie Client. That is totally its own distinct application. It's going to be Gamma, Movie Client, no, none. This looks familiar, right? Feels warm and fuzzy to be back in React. When we were all younger and more carefree.
Sweet summer child.
Watching a little more Game of Thrones, when you said Sweet Summer Child, I immediately just wanted to reply with what you're coming.
That's my.
Yeah, I was just,
Yeah, right.
That's my brain.
Dude, that's what, mid-April?
Pardon?
Mid-April?
Yeah,
It
something
will
like
be
that.
the
First
Sunday
episode.
before demo day.
Sunday before demo day?
Yep.
Who?
The premiere will be our freeze 1 hour or hour and a half before.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to watch it, we can chip in and just do like a pay-per-view, or we just buy a collective Game of Thrones subscription and we can just watch it here on Sunday. No? Okay.
I mean,
or someone
just
picks
use
one.
my HBO Go.
Or someone who has HBO Go, like,
I have HBO now, so
I'm
I'm gonna
Whichever
slightly
one.
later, or
Whichever one doesn't require TV.
yeah.
Oh,
I have
Oh,
the
you got to do that like day after.
I think so. Yeah, mine's like the Netflix for HBO kind of streaming
Yeah.
thing.
yeah. Yeah, the one, my girlfriend's dad has it, so we piggyback off of his subscription.
I just have 5 seasons on DVD if anyone wants to.
We're
just DVD player the other day.
Oh,
He was like, oh, I have one.
okay. This is physical media.
I watched my HBO on my laptop. So I'm up to the part where that's like in the beginning when he tricked 3 people to think that
Mm-hmm.
that he was going to do something, and then it turned out it was like that old man
Yep.
that
I
betrayed
know
him.
exactly what you're talking
So
about.
that's
That was like the best thing.
Yeah.
Tyrion's my favorite character.
I like him.
I would say I didn't harm a single hair in his head.
So, React
Oh yeah.
without,
For a reason.
yeah, right?
Hey, source.
Hey, source folder, right? Hey, hello world component, let's get rid of that. Gonna brush off our JavaScript skills here. So we'll be going to an API, so we'll need some sort of state. Inside of our component, we're going to be showing a list of movies. So movies is going to be an array because it's going to be a list of movies that we're going to be showing. In our component did mount, we're going to be making, we like Axios, huh? Yeah, we like Axios.
If we have time, like another day or another time or something, could we do this with hooks? Get a refresher on that.
Yeah. Might have time today. Because I thought about using hooks, but I want to do something stupid fast.
Mm-hmm.
So without installs, import Axios from Axios.
So you can use hooks in
Mhm.
Axios.
Yep. So axios.get. Now what's the URL here?
Local 500
Yep.
001.
5001 /API /movies .then this .set state movies equals resp.data. Right? Old hat. And then of course down here, throw out some HTML real fast. Mhm. This dot state dot map return li key equals movie dot id and then movie dot title. Here, start. I mean, right? Looks should be ringing a couple bells here. Hey, put it in state because it's going to be changing because we're loading it up. Hey, go to my own movie, go to my own API, then map over the results whenever they come in. And
wait.
what?
And then wait.
Yeah, and then we go, hey, did we do it right? And I'm going to go with probably.
I think it's faster since it's all contained in one device.
You would think that, but it's still going over the internet-ish.
It doesn't matter if that's a different local host.
Because the local host on the back end is its own thing.
So that's actually very so that while it loads, we can kind of chat about it. Because so localhost 3000 and localhost 5000 are technically two different domains. Does that work? Oh, what?
This dot state dot map is not a function.
This dot state dot movies dot map. Movie. Hey, a lot faster, right?
Mhm.
So it is going from port to port. So this is going on the same computer, but they are technically different domains. Remember the API adventure, choose your own API adventure homework? And sometimes, if you didn't choose the right APIs, you got a CORS error. So CORS stands for, what does CORS stand for?
Instead of butt, right?
No, you mean just inside of water. CORS is cross-origin resource sharing. Pretty much that means that by default, servers do not allow other websites to talk to them. So since we're at two different domains, that means I'm on a different website. By default, I can't talk to you. But we have CORS enabled. And when I say that, if we head over here to our server, this is a server-side setting. If we go to our startup.cs, inside of our configuration, we're adding CORS. And then down here, we're going, hey, CORS, come from anywhere. You can do anything from anywhere, and anyone can. So this is a very open, permissive API. Like the Star Wars API. Did we ever use that one? It's a very open API. The weather API, also very open API. But like that in a real production setting should be actually set to real values. So, but since we've enabled CORS on our server, it doesn't matter that our React app is at a different domain.
So, with the really open ones, is there like a certain like threat level that somebody could, if it was like one that you could post to, you could post something malicious and
Yes.
get it to like all these other websites and all their users? And,
Yes.
okay.
So like if you're building like, I don't know, like a Marvel movie API, that's a read-only, that's probably good to be open. If you're building like banking software, probably not open.
So is this like the area that you'd specify authentication or API keys and blah, blah, blah?
Yep. Whenever we get to authentication, like next week, there's like 3 lines that we add here that say add use authentication.
I know people are really only uploading, like, for example, for a movie thing, they're only uploading like strings of text, basically.
Yeah.
There's no way to like put a program in there or anything.
That's
Or
a
is
great
it-
question. There is.
There is.
So one of the most basic types of attack is called SQL injection. Have we heard of this before? Have we
Yes.
talked about this? Yeah.
No, we haven't talked about it, but we've heard about it.
Yeah, right? Little Bobby tables? Is that ringing a bell? No, it will.
That sounds familiar.
yeah,
I don't
right?
know why.
So SQL injection says that, hey, instead of, where's my postman? So instead of, whenever I go to add something, instead of typing in ET, I'm going to go finish the SQL statement and then delete movies. I'm going to try to pass it an actual SQL statement. So this is a SQL injection. So I can go, so theoretically, someone who has malicious intent could go to your website, go to a text field, and start typing in SQL, and have that send your database and try to run this code. Whoo!
So for like the websites that get hacked, like taken over, and then all of a sudden they're pharmaceutical sites,
Yeah,
are those SQL injections? Or
potentially. But
So
thankfully for us, ORMs typically check for this kind of stuff.
So how did they allow, like, how did they miss that while designing? Is it SQL or is it something else?
So
That where you have a string?
the failure here is
Yeah.
if you're not using ORMs and just building up your SQL queries as strings. So we have collectively been going over this for about 2 weeks, and during that time, we've never written a SQL statement as a string in C#, right?
Right.
But in a world before ORMs, it wouldn't be uncommon to see stuff like this. Where's my controller? Var query equals select star from movies. And then have some sort of query runner that would actually run that query. Now, if we were getting one movie down here, where ID equals plus ID. So taking whatever the user passes to us and putting it right directly into our SQL statement and then running that SQL statement. This was in the early days of the web before we knew any better.
So 2 questions, just before we knew any better. First thing, would stuff like the commands in pgcli or a similar command, like I'm going to do a SQL injection /dt, oops, there's all your tables, ooh, now I want to go to
Potentially, yeah.
the passwords table where
If-
everything's hashed out. Kind of.
If you could figure out what database that server was running, potentially, you could run other commands around. And that's how hacks work. It's, what technologies are you using? What can I find out about it? And what are the edge cases and how can I take control somehow?
It's wild.
Yeah.
are some hacks automated? They just find like very vulnerable old websites. They're just
Sometimes, yeah.
such old code. Right?
Yep.
And sorry, just and then they learned better, presumably still before ORMs came in. If you were to turn that into a what's it called? The strings that can be edited with the dollar sign in front.
Yeah. Yeah, and string interpolation.
Interpolation, thank you. If you were to do that and then they were to type it in, it would just take those formatting marks as just literal like characters, right?
It'll give you the exact same problems. Because we're still running that string against it. And string interpolation is a relatively newer idea. So yeah, don't do the stuff like this. But ORMs now check for stuff like that. And when I say little Bobby tables, you know the webcomic XKCD?
That's
Yeah.
probably what I heard of it, yeah.
Yep. Little Bobby tables.
Oh, it's the kid with the weird name, yeah. I remember this one now.
So
So that's a SQL injection.
yeah, this is so like whenever they would go to input a student records, his name would be Roberts, Robert, that thing, parentheses, semicolon, drop table students, and then comment out all the rest. So it's like, okay, it's gonna insert the student, then it's gonna drop the student table. And the term sanitize your database inputs, that's the term for making sure that your database inputs aren't anything like that. So that's little bobby tables. And you get a programming joke.
If you actually did,
What?
if you actually did that and like put that into a government database or something absurd, like oh yeah, like, the birth certificate, oh we forgot to check the SQL.
It happens. I mean, so the secret, I don't want to say dirty little secret because I say that term a lot, but the secret is that every software system is built by people, and not every developer is Bill Gates, not every developer is Steve Wozniak. So yeah, mistakes happen, incompetencies, ignorance.
Naivety.
Yeah. Incompetence is always a bad word because it could be like I just don't know any better kind of thing. So
I have a question. There's mouse over text on these comics. I want to see what it is, and also how do you do that?
his daughter is named Help. I'm trapped. That's like that. Help! I'm trapped in a driver's license factory.
So how would one do that? The mouse over text.
So here we have a site that does it. Let's figure out how they do it.
Inspector.
Would it just be displaying the alt on hover?
Oh, maybe.
Because alt is just what shows up when maybe.
It's the title.
Okay.
It's a title of a image.
So they just. Okay, so they're displaying that, and
That's just a browser thing. If you put a title on an image and hover over it, you'll see the title.
oh. Is there a way you could theoretically put like? I mean, there's probably a way better way to do this, but could you put like buttons or anything in there that could, so like you have mouse over it, and then you could like the user could click things to do something else.
So, not with the built-in title stuff,
Okay, but
you could
otherwise-
write JavaScript
Okay.
that says, hey, if I hover over this element for 3 seconds, show this window here that has a button that does it.
Cool. Because I'm gonna be doing a lot of that with my capstone, so I need to figure that out.
Think of mobile friendly though.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no hover on
That's true. And like hold something.
Is that how they do when you're on a page and after, a few seconds, you have that little box that pops up like with the consultant saying, hey, do you need some help?
They kicked off a set timeout that says, hey, after 5 seconds, show this box and do this.
I hate when it's like that on like an article, and so you get like a paragraph in, and all of a sudden, hey, buy our everything and give us money.
Subscribe to our newsletter.
Yeah.
Download our single-purpose app. No, never in a million years.
Yeah.
Do you want to use Reddit mobile? No.
No. False. So, weekend homework assignment. Last night, you built 3 endpoints, right? Or were supposed to. This weekend, you're going to add like 3 or 4 more to the API, and also put a React app on top of that.
Ooh.
That does stuff. Pretty much the React app has like a handful of functionality that may or may not correspond to the endpoints that you made. So like, display all the animals, update the count for the animals, add an animal, delete an animal, stuff like that. Don't worry about making the UI too crazy cool. It shouldn't look terrible, but it doesn't have to be completely fancy. So it should be somewhat styled. The UI, how you lay it out is up to you. I don't care, as long as it has the functionality. And of course, also work on capstone. But homework priority, then capstone. Because this is really your first kind of real full stack project.
And I'll prepare you for the capstone.
Hey, how about that? It's like we're thinking or something.
That can't be right.
All right, videos and stuff will be posted.